Do you find yourself constantly parenting on autopilot? You're constantly yelling to be heard or punishing in order to get your point across. You parent from stress and exhaustion. And then you wondered, is this really the kind of parent I want to be? If that's you, then you're not alone. Today I want to share my journey with hopes that it's going to inspire yours. 3 months after I moved to Canada, I became a mom and my life changed. I was a brand new immigrant, a new mom, who was overwhelmed, scared, trying to figure out life in a completely new environment. I had no manual, no guideline, no roadmap. My only goals about parenting was I would never physically discipline my kids. I didn't want my kids to grow up masking up like I did, trying to fit in a certain box of what I wanted in a child, because that's how I grew up. I grew up trying to fit my parents' expectation of a good child. That authenticity aspect of it was not there because I wanted to fit the good girl, the good child. I didn't want to parent only based on punishment and consequences. I didn't want them to always comply out of fear. I want them to actually have an understanding of what I'm trying to explain to them. Like I said, I had no manual, no roadmap, and I didn't even know how to do these things. I knew what I wanted to do, but I didn't know how. I didn't know where to get the resources. I was just living life in autopilot. The first 2 years of my parenting was an autopilot. What I didn't realize then was that the way we communicate, the way we express our stress, the way we express our emotions, the way we model the behavior we want to see, they all come together to define your parenting style and also shape our kids just as much. Let me share a story. One evening after a long day at work, I was exhausted. I was literally running on empty. I got home trying to make dinner and also trying to keep an eye on my 2-year-old. Midway into making dinner, I just looked and guess what I saw? My daughter was literally writing on the wall. And I know she was so little, but I tried to, set boundaries like, hey, no writing on the wall. Because I was running on empty, I didn't even have that patience. I didn't even realize that this is just a 2-year-old. Immediately I sighted her. Boom, I snapped. I went over there and snatched the pen from her. And then I yelled, no writing on the wall. I took the pen away. Few minutes later, guess what? She did the same thing again. She got another pen and she was scribbling on the wall. This time I was so furious. Remember, I was running on empty. I was overwhelmed. As I was walking close to her, in my head I thought maybe a little spank would get the message to stick. But as I raised my hand to give her that tiny little tap, that tap, she froze. She didn't move. She didn't run or try to be defiant in any way. You know how our parents are coming to give us a spank and the next thing we do is we're running away trying to defend ourselves. I didn't see none of that. It was like she froze. And in that moment I realized my triggers was not as a result of her writing on the wall. My triggers was about my exhaustion, my unmet need, the stress I was going through at that moment, and the pattern of parenting I've inherited growing up. You know that pattern of when you don't listen to an instruction for the first time, then it follows up with punishment? And that was it. I wanted to punish her because I didn't have the patience at that moment. And that was the turning point for me. I was becoming everything I didn't want to be as a parent. No parent on earth do this consciously. That's why it's called parenting on autopilot. Because you don't have time to even slow down. You're constantly stressed. And since that day, I made it a habit to unlearn those unhealthy pattern of parenting I inherited. Because I knew there has to be other ways to parent. There has to be other ways to communicate without yelling my lungs. There has to be other ways to discipline without having to punish. There has to be other ways to bond with your child while instilling boundaries. There has to be other way to discipline your child without causing emotional disconnection. There has to be other way to parent in a healthy way. It has to be a gentler way of communicating. So I had to learn how to stop parenting from exhaustion. I had to learn how to meet my own needs. I started parenting from intention. Then I started communicating instead of yelling. I traded punishment for teachable moments. I turned every mistake, guilt, frustration into lessons. Now we focus on connection over control. We focus on emotional regulation. And now my daughter blossomed. We both grew together, and I was able to apply these strategies that I used on her on my second daughter without stress. I know there are many parents like me who love their kids so deeply, but parents from stress, exhaustion, burnout, and old patterns. Parents who constantly yell to get their point across, who constantly punish, kill their children's self-esteem in order to discipline them. And this is not because they want to, but because they don't have any choice. They don't know what else to do. I know there are parents like me out there who still punish because they were never taught the power of connection, communication, or emotional safety. I know there are other parents like me who actually punish in order to gain control over their children, but the reverse happens. They lose control because when you're not there to punish them, they become free and do whatever they like. There are tons of research out there to back this up that shows the ineffectiveness of punishing children in order to instill instruction in them. I highly welcome you to join our community, The Growing Parent, where we explore different ways based on our unique experiences in our household, where we explore better ways to train our children without punishment. And this is going to be based on your own unique experience, because what works for parent A might not work for parent 2. I have 2 kids and I don't use the same parenting style for them. So I'm going to help you figure out what parenting style suits your household. If you want to break the circle, come on board. This is my first video and I specifically created this channel for us. Join me on this journey. Let's rewrite our stories together. Remember, one imperfect but intentional step at a time. See you in my next video.